The Red Village, TRV, is the leading dark fantasy franchise in the metaverse. TRV digital assets called Champions are used across two distinct game modes: Tournaments, currently live in beta, and Darklands, currently under development in a multi-year partnership with the award-winning game development studio Blowfish Studios, a subsidiary of global blockchain giant Animoca Brands. In today's video, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about TRV's Tournament Mode. Tournament Mode is a bloody, gruesome, simulated fighting game where players, called Battle Masters, enter their champions into either 8v8 or 1v1 tournaments to complete for glory and real cash prizes. Once the fight starts, you'll see all 8 champions showcased, and then the algorithm randomly sorts them into 4 pairs. Champions trade basic attacks and misses along with special attacks and defenses that either hit insanely hard or mitigate a ton of damage. After each round, the winning champion advances, and in paid tournaments, the 2 champs in the final round split the prize pool, with 70% going to first place, 27.5% going to second place, and 2.5% returning to the Red Village community chest to be used for ongoing game development and free entry tournaments. Although TRV Tournament Mode is an algorithmic fighting simulator, the player input and decision making before entering each fight is a critical part of the game. Whenever entering a tournament, be it with a blooded or unblooded champion, you will always have to choose one of 4 fighting stances, also referred to as fighting styles: aggressive, defensive, accurate, or balanced. Each stance gives a boost to certain traits. To make it easy to understand, using UFC and boxing terms, strength is your punching power or damage output, defense is your chin or damage mitigation, and attack is your consistency stat or damage variation. In addition to the specific boosts that come from each stance, every champion is also minted or summoned with a natural preference for a particular fighting stance that, when in it, significantly improves its ability to win fights compared to the other 3 stances. This preferred stance is completely unknown to you, the Battle Master, which is why discovery in this game is so important. There are 5 different classes of champion, each with their own special attack and defense animation. Wizard and Rangers are the glass cannon classes with very high attack and moderate defense. Paladin and Barbarian are the balance classes with high attack and high defense. And Druid is the tank class with a moderate attack but very high defense. Even though each of these classes give a different stat profile with strengths and weaknesses relative to the other classes, within those classes, the stats of each champion is unique. So although Druids on average are more defensive than the other 4 classes, you can definitely have a Druid that's very high in attack for a Druid and very low in defense, and may even hit harder than a champion in any of these other classes. The class profiles just give a general range of where they may be stronger or weaker on average relative to the other classes. Each champion is completely unique in its own distinct name, skills, attributes, and characteristics that are given to them automatically when they are minted. In combat, the immutable stats of these champions is processed through a complex algorithm that takes into account every unique stat of the champion, producing simulated combat where every single strike and action on screen is meaningful. In the Red Village, there are currently only 2 ways a champion can be created: official TRV mints and the game's breeding mechanic called summoning. Pureblood champions are champions created during TRV mints, with each mint introducing its own distinct bloodline to the ecosystem. There will only ever be 28,000 of these pureblood champions spanning across 4 distinct bloodline mints. Genesis champions, who have black backgrounds, were minted in November 2021. Mystic champions, who have red backgrounds, were minted in January 2022. And the Warlord and Lionheart mints will occur at some point in the future based on demand. There are currently 11,000 purebloods in the ecosystem between the Genesis and Mystic champions that have already been minted. Pureblood champions are special because they are the only champions in the game who can summon an unlimited amount of times. Summoning is TRV's breeding mechanic, which allows the Battle Master to take the blood of 2 champions of the same class and create a brand new champion, with the potential for it to be even stronger than its parents. Champions that are summoned are called Half-Bloods and can be identified by their gray background. Half-Bloods can summon as well, either with other Half-Bloods or even Pureblood champions, but their number of summons is capped based on their genotype. I talk more about bloodlines, genotypes, and their impact on gameplay in the Day 1 Champion Guide, linked below in the description. The summoning gameplay loop in the Red Village is so much fun. You collect fighters, fight them, learn about their strengths and weaknesses, earn wisdom points to reveal the ranges for their stats, and then based on that information, and their fight history, you try to create optimal summoning pairs to create a champion that's even stronger than its parent. Every single summon is like a brand new mint. You have the chance to summon ethereals that look like White Walkers, undead that look like zombies, and even identical twins. So when you receive a champ or buy a champ, you're not just receiving a fighter, you're receiving one half of a summoning pair, which will bring you a lot of fun and exciting mints in the future with each summoning cycle. If you want to learn more about summoning and all the cool mechanics built into it, you can check out my short Day 1 summoning guide or my longer Ultimate summoning guide, both linked down in the description. When fighting champions in the Red Village, it's important to keep a long-term view in mind. Just because the champion loses a bit early doesn't mean it's bad, and it's always important to test out all 4 stances. For example, this ranger here, Foe Freezer, owned by awesome TRV vet Chrysantis of Shroot Farm Barracks, lost her first 8 tournaments in a balanced stance. He then completed over 600 tournaments in other stances, and she did decently in those, but never came close to performing at an elite level. Frustrated, he shot me a DM. We went back to the drawing board, and he eventually decided to fight her more in balance to see if something was there. With an additional 79 tourneys after that first 0-8 start, she is now ranked 171 in the entire game with a win rate of almost 60% and winning almost 22% of every tournament she's in, with a huge damage differential, fighting against the toughest competition in the game. That's top 200 in an ecosystem of over 12,000 champions, in a stance that he started off 0-8. So it's important to fight your champions, folks, and do so in all stances you can. Ideally up to 25 times in each stance. But one important note here with that recommendation. This game is so much fun when you win. So don't feel compelled to do a bunch of fights in a row in some super systematic way if you're losing a bunch in a stance that doesn't seem to be optimal, or it makes the fighting process feel like a chore. A better way is just to rotate to a different stance in each fight until you win your first match, and then do that stance 10 to 25 times and go from there. The team is also currently working on a discovery stance that will auto-rotate your champion through each stance when entering each tournament, so that you don't have to manually choose a different stance every time yourself. For every stance you complete 50 battles in, battles being the equivalent to individual rounds in a tournament, Skewer.eth, our analytics GOAT and resident data scientist, who you should go drop a follow to by the way, creates a cool scouting report in the form of graphs that map out your champion's performance in a bunch of different key areas relative to every other champ that's fought in the game. Players both new and old have used these reports to not only identify their champion's preferred stance, but also to gauge an approximation of how formidable their champion is as a fighter. We also have a champ review channel where you can paste the link of your champion and get feedback from other community members on how your champ is doing. We host a weekly new player tournament on Thursday evening where we spend a few hours doing these champ reviews live on Twitch for both new and veteran players, followed by exclusive new player tournaments for every new player that completes at least one tournament with their champion. In these tournaments, you can win free champs, free summoning passes, and bonus wisdom. Over time, Battle Masters in the Red Village come to learn their champions very well using wisdom and third-party tools like TRVtools.com and MyVillagers.io. They build their barracks up by buying champs of the same class on Haku, TRV's preferred marketplace, where they have access to all sorts of cool filters and stats in order to find the exact champion to suit their barrack strategy. You then use everything you've learned about your champions by fighting in the arena to summon half-bloods who have the potential to be even stronger than their parents. There are weekly community tournaments with huge cash prizes, and all playoffs and grand finals for these tournaments are streamed live on Twitch by TRV content creators and partners, with plenty of other Battle Masters in chat to enjoy the experience along with you. After you buy or get gifted your first champion and enter the Red Village, you'll find that there are few experiences more satisfying as a gamer than seeing a fighter you own completely fight, win, and earn real cash prizes in addition to eternal glory and bragging rights. An exciting, edge-of-your-seat gladiator meets UFC fighting simulator with a team-building mechanic like Madden franchise mode on steroids. A group of founders, hardcore gamers themselves, who understand the importance of constant communication, accessibility, visibility, and purposeful implementation of player feedback. In a community that you'll soon find out is unlike anything else in gaming, one that you'll be so happy you became a part of. All you need to do to join is to click that Discord link down below and grab yourself your first champion if you don't have one already. So for those of you guys who don't already have a champion, now's the time to get one. Here's a quick video on how to grab your first champ. And if you're someone who recently bought or already received your first champion, here's a short video on everything you need to know about fighting in your first tournament and setting yourself up for long-term success in the Red Village during your first week of gameplay.